Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to show you a library that absolutely every Django developer should know. And if you are a Django developer and haven't heard about this library, it's okay. This is a tutorial for you. And if you are just entering the Django world, I recommend you to learn this library as soon as possible, because sooner or later you will really need it. I use this library for 90% of my projects. It's absolutely amazing, and now it will be a proper time to tell you what it actually does. So you can see that it has to do something related to exporting data. And yes, you can export data from the template based on the logic that you implement in the view. And here we have only two formats, Excel and CSV. But then if we go to the Django administration, we can also export our objects from our post model just like this. Select the objects that you want to export, and then select the format, press go, and boom, here it is. Okay, so this is what we actually exported from our Django administration. This is amazing. And you can also do imports with this library. I usually do exports, so in this particular tutorial I'm going to show you how to do exports. I think they're more practical, at least for my projects. And yeah, as mentioned before, we can do the same from the template with the logic that we've written down in our views file. So let's find out this time with the Excel. And there it is. Okay, so this is really incredible, and I really recommend you watch this video to the very end, because you will learn this practical knowledge. This library is called Django Import Export, and yeah, it's a big thing. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so before we get started, I just want to let you know that the cheat sheet to this tutorial will be available on my Instagram. So my Instagram account is Pyplane Code, and as mentioned before, within 1 or 2 days I will post a tutorial as a cheat sheet on this topic. Alright guys, so I'm at Visual Studio Code, and I already started a blank Django project. I installed a post application, and this time I also prepared the models. So we have two classes, the post and the comment, and we have a reverse relationship in the post class to this comment class. So basically we are gathering all the comments that belong to the post class. We have a foreign key to the user as the author field. We have a body, which is a char field. We have a liked, which is a many-to-many field. And we have a created, which is a date time field. So we are going to focus on the post class in order to export the post objects that we store in our database. All right. So the first thing to do is to actually install Django import export, and we need to go to the official documentation. And as you can see, I already started a Django project and it's installed successfully. I'm also logged into the Django administration. That means I created a super user, and over here I have Django import export documentation. So let's go to installation and configuration. What we need to do first is to grab this comment, go to the terminal, quit the development server from running, and paste it. Okay, so give it a minute. And then we also need to include import export in the installed apps list in the settings py file. So let's do this very quickly. As you can see, I already have the post application over here, and below let's place import export. All right. So we're done with the installation. Now we can head over to the posts admin py file. So we need to create a configuration for how we want to export our objects. So let's create a class which I'm going to name post resource, and this will inherit from resources dot model resource. Okay, and let's set a class meta inside of this post resource class, and let's indicate that the model we are referring to is going to be post. And then we need to define the fields which we want to export. So I'm going to go with the ID, and then I'm going to place all the fields that I defined. So author, what else do we have? Body, then we have liked, created, and yeah, I'm going to skip comments for now. All right, so I have ID, author, body, liked, created, and these are the fields that I want to export. So in order to export, to add this export functionality, we actually need to create a custom admin for our post model. So we can define this class below the post resource class. Post, let's call this admin, which inherits from admin.modeladmin, model admin. All right, and then over here we just need to indicate that the resource class is going to be our post resource. Post resource. All right, but also there's one thing missing. So if we want to export from the Django administration, we also need to include an export action mixin, and we are going to import it from import export. So from import export, we want to go to the admin, and from here we want to import export action mixin. Okay, and let's place it in front of the admin model admin. All right, so I'm going to save this, and let's go to the Django administration. Let's see if we can actually see this functionality. So I'm going to start the development server again. All right, so we have resources is not defined. Resources. Of course, we need to import resources as well. So from import export resources. Sorry about this, guys. So this is the issue, which was the problem. There was a complaint on the resources, and now everything seems to be fine. So I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, and I'm going to go to the posts, and we don't have any posts, so let's add one very quickly. Save. And now let's see if we have this functionality working. So we don't have it working. We don't see this functionality over here. So the reason for this is, of course, that I forgot to place the post admin next to the post. So we didn't register our custom admin class. And now if I hit refresh, we can see that this export is possible right now. And we can select all these different formats. So I'm going to go with CSV. And let's see what we will have over here. All right, guys, so here are the results. We have the ID, author, body, liked, and the created. So the problem is with the foreign keys and the many-to-many relationship. So these are special cases, which we will take care of course, in this tutorial. And let's say we would also like to get rid of the time. We would only like to have the created date. So this is something that we will also do. And of course, we will bring in a next column with all the comments referring to this particular post. So yeah, let's go to the Visual Studio Code, and we'll need to do another import. We'll need to bring in a field from import export fields and instantiate it for all these fields that cause, let's call it, problems. So from import export fields, we want to import field, okay, and then maybe let's begin with the author. Author is equal to field, and now we need to apply the dehydrate method on the author. So it's very similar to Django REST framework with the serializer method field. So you can imagine that instantiating the author over here is like running a serializer method field. And then we have to run, instead of get field name, dehydrate, and then the field name. So in our case, the field name is author, all right? And then we also pass in self and obj. So self is referring to the class, which is post resource. This is not what it's interesting for us. We want the actual object coming from the post, okay? And what we need to do is to simply return str and then not self, but obj, author, user name. Okay, so this is for the author, and this should work. We will find out in just a second. Let's also do the same thing for liked. This is a different use case, a little bit more complicated, but also very important to understand and to apply. So again, we will bring in dehydrate, and then this time we are referring to the liked. This takes in self and obj as well. But here, let's create a variable data, and we will do some list comprehension. We will loop through the users that are in the liked field in this many-to-many relationship, and we will simply store it in this data variable. So I'm going to write x username for x in obj liked all. All right, so now we have a list, and this list can be turned into a string so that we can return it and store it in the column. So I'm going to write a new variable called users liked, and we are going to join this list, and we will do it by the comma. So I'm going to put in comma space and then join data, and then I'm going to return users liked, just like this. All right, so yeah, actually if we have those two fields, let's also do the created before we do file save, and we will leave the comments at the very end. So let's do the created. So as mentioned before, over here we just want to grab the date. We don't want the time, right? So this is of course for exercises purposes only. Normally we would put in a date field instead of date time field, but as mentioned before, this is just for practices. So again, we are going to put in self and obj, and then we are going to return and then obj created strf time, and let's put in the day, the month, and also the year. Let's do it like this. All right, so now I'm going to save this, and yeah, let's check it out. Going to hit refresh, grab this one single post, export selected posts, CSV, and let's go. All right, so here is the result. Now we have the admin, we have the liked, and this is also the admin. Let's take a look. Okay, we have the admin as the one as the user who liked this post. We have the created, we have the ID, and we also have the test. So maybe we don't like the order because it's kind of weird. The ID is in 1, 2, 3, 4th position, and this order maybe doesn't make much sense to us. So what we could do, of course, is to go back to our Visual Studio Code and set export order to the ones that we have in our fields. All right. Now let's check this out. So I'm going to go to posts and I'm going to select the one post that we have. Again, CSV, and let's see. And now, as you can see, we have the correct export order. All right, so there are still comments to be done. And as mentioned before, this is a pretty similar case to the liked. All right. So let's do it. Let's do this very quickly. I'm actually going to copy this dehydrate liked, and I'm going to do some adjustments. So first of all, we need to set a comments field. Comments. All right. And as the next step, we can refer to the dehydrate method. Let's put in comments. And now we aren't looping by the username. We actually want the body of our comment. So as a reminder, we have a body, which is a char field. So maybe we want only the body, which is basically a title, you can say, of the comment. So let's grab the body. And then we are not looping through obj liked all. So we are not looping through this field. We are looping through the comments. So let's write like this. And also let's change the name to comments. Okay, comments. Okay, let's save this. And before we actually test it out, let's maybe add a post. Post 2. And let's add a user over here. Test user. Let's save. And maybe let's save and add another one. So let's say the test user. And let's say the admin likes this one. All right. And then let's go to the comments. Over here, let's just add one comment. This will be more than enough. And let's say test comments. Okay, so let's see if this will work. Let's go to posts. Let's grab CSV. Okay. Okay, so here are the results. As you can see, we have the ID, the author, the body, the liked. So now over here, we have the admin and the test user. And where there are comments, we simply display the comments, all right? So this is it for the admin part. Now let's move to the view part. All right, guys, so I'm at the post application in the views.py file. And right now, let's create two views. So the first one is going to be a template view. And I have basically a lot of things prepared. So I already have a URLs.py file. I already have a base HTML. And I also have an index HTML, which inherits from base HTML. And this is, again, done for readability purposes so that we can see precisely what is going on over here. And as you can see, we have an H3 export data, we have a horizontal line, and then we also have two buttons for exporting in Excel and as XLS and as CSV. All right, so let's go back to the views, and now let's create the two views that we actually will need. So first of all, let's begin with the imports. So we want to let's just do a class view. So from Django views generic, let's grab the template view. Template view. All right, and let's define a very simple class, which we are going to call main view, which inherits from the template view. And the template name is going to be equal index HTML. So this is the first view. The other one will be a function view, which we will call export, which will take in a request and a format, and at the end it will return something. Okay, so for now I'm just going to put it like this. All right, so let's register those two views in the URLs PY. So over here we need to bring them. So I want to grab the main view and the export. All right, and then we need to register them in the URL patterns. So let's write path, and then we will have main view as view, and we will set the name to main. And then below we will have a path for the export, and here we will have a SCR format, and this is going to be export, and the name is going to be export. So basically we are going to pass in a format over here, and depending on the format we will generate a Excel file or a CSV. All right, so this is the format over here. Okay, so depending on this keyword argument we will generate a file with a particular format. All right, so now let's see if this will work. So I have the URLs PY file linked with the main URLs PY file. Okay, so I've done this. So let's see, what do we have over here? And this is basically what interests us. So we have export data, we have XLS, and we have CSV. Of course, those button doesn't do much right now. We need to actually focus on writing this export view. And to begin, we will need to bring in our resource from the admin. So from .admin, we want to bring in the post resource, which is our configuration file for the exports. And then we are going to create a variable called posts resource. And this will be over here, we will instantiate this post resource. All right, then we will define a data set, and this is going to be posts resource export. Okay, so this is the data set, and then we need to do a check on the format. So we will be dealing with two. So we will have a check maybe if the format is equal to CSV, then we will have the data set format set to dataset CSV. In other case, we know that we will be dealing with XLS. So let's write dataset format, in this case, will be equal to dataset XLS. Okay. And then we need to define the response. So in order to proceed with the response, we actually need to import HTTP response from Django HTTP import HTTP response. So response is equal to HTTP response, and we need to pass in now the dataset format and the content type, which needs to be set as, and here I'm going to use an F string, text slash, and then I'm going to inject the format that we are passing. All right, format. All right, so we have the HTTP response basically ready, and now let's specify the response content disposition. We want to set it as attachment, so we want this file as an attachment. So let me just spell this correctly, disposition. I hope I did it right. And again, I'm going to use an F string over here. And first of all, let's place, as mentioned before, the attachment. And then let's also define the file name. So I'm just going to put in over here posts, and then dot, and again I'm going to inject the format. All right, so now we can actually save this, and soon we will find out if this export does work or not. We just need to go to index.html and now refer to these buttons. So we need to link them with our export view. So let's do this. URL, and then let's just check what do we have in the URLs py. What is the name? Okay, it's export. So the application name is posts export, and then we just need to remember to also pass in the proper format. So over here, let's type posts export, and then we will have first the XLS according to the label over here. And I'm going to copy this. And here I'm going to change this to CSV. So let's save this. Let's hit refresh. And we have that the views, post views didn't return an HTTP response object. It returned none instead. So let's find out what's going on. Okay, we know what's going on. We didn't return the response. So yeah, let's check this out again. And now we have the posts. Okay, I don't know if you guys see it, but here we have a quotation, a single quotation mark. So something is wrong with the naming. And yeah, now this should be okay. So this was the XLS. Let's see the CSV. And now there's no single quotation mark. The naming is correct and everything is working. All right, guys, so we can finish off this tutorial over here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is a very, very powerful and useful library. We just took care of the export part. You can do also imports. I actually never use the imports, but I use the exports all the time, and this is why I wanted to make this video. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, see you in the next one. Have a great day, and bye-bye.